Ready to get to work? Let's get to work. So what's going on here this morning? I have this scene in the beginning of the Quantum Terror. It's characters coming out into a tunnel, and I have this shot here because I want a tunnel that's going way back, and we did not have a set that went more than 16 feet worth of tunnel. So I wanted this to be a tunnel that went way deeper than 16 feet. And you can see here from the miniatures, we've got kind of a convincing tunnel. That some effects are going to have to be added for this background here because this is a false perspective gag. If you follow me on Instagram, you can see pictures of the miniature sets and how I used a maybe I have it in this folder here. Let's see, did I take a photo of it? See, I have all these video clips of the miniatures, and we did some pretty fun miniature stuff here. I mean, there's this tunnel here with this kind of drop, and you can see where the miniature ends here, but we had this kind of drop of that the characters have to climb down, so we couldn't build that on the set. Oh, here we go. It's a good shot of looking down of it. So we did some fun miniature stuff that we got away with because we were doing point of view shots. For most part, I wanted to do as little green screen as possible, but in this, you know, every once in a while you need to show your characters interacting with the surroundings so that your audience doesn't start to feel that that they're not in the same space. So, you know, and they may, but here we have, sorry for the shaky footage, here we have a perspective gag. This right here at the end of the tunnel is a painting of the tunnel going further back, and you can see the edges here, but when you color correct it and add darkness and that sort of thing, it's going to be very hard to notice, especially with the quick shots that we have. But I want my character Jacob to be heading down a tunnel. So I have these still images of the tunnel that we are going to put into Photoshop, and we're going to create a continuous tunnel. So I created these green screen shots, and as you can see, we didn't bother with, you know, hiding the lights because we're going to digitally remove all of this stuff. And you can see he never crosses where the microphone is. We set up the microphone right there so he could hit his mark and it could capture the best possible audio. And then we lit the part of the green screen that was, you know, as evenly as we could that we knew he was going to be in. And you can see there's a hot spot here, and there's all this junk around here that we can just crop out. We don't have to worry about getting a clean key. Since this is compressed footage, and I've gone over this before in other live stream tutorials, I'm going to use Ultra Key to begin with in Premiere rather than Keylight in After Effects. The reason being is that Ultra Key is a lot less noisy for compressed footage. Keylight is still superior keying software, and there are keying softwares out there that are excellent beyond Keylight, but I have Keylight and you probably have Keylight, and if you have Premiere then you have Ultra Key as well. Again, I've demonstrated before, if you use Keylight on compressed footage, you just get all of this like really horrendous kind of chattery noise in your key that's really problematic to get rid of. So let's see, effects, video effects, keying, and let's see, there's all these different things. Ultra Key, let's drop that in, and poof. So you can see this is noisy too. You can definitely see noise up here where the green is being reflected up on the ceiling. So we want to go into alpha channel and take a look at this, And then we've got all sorts of options here: matte generator, matte cleaning, spill suppressor, that'll be a good one, color correction. So let's just start with, I'm going to start with pedestal down here. See that? You crank that pretty hard, that gets rid of a lot of stuff. But we've got the shadow issue, we've got the highlight issue. So let's reset that. Let's reset it all. And by the way, apologies, I have to keep an eye on my phone in case there's any issues. So if you hear the theme from Young Frankenstein, Transylvanian Lullaby, that's my phone going off. Alright, so let's get this. I want to be able to look at this pretty well. Okay, so let's just start with messing with the transparency. Not much to be done there. And the highlight, not much. Tolerance, not much. Pedestal's really our friend at this point. Now we've got noise up here. Let's play it. You can see that noise. Got a lot of noise around there too. And this is a tough one. You know what? I'm going to try and grab a key from a different part. So let's go back to fit. Let's reset that. So I think I grabbed from a little too light of a spot. So I'm going to grab from a darker area. And see if we can't work with that a bit more. That seems a bit better, but now we're getting some noise within him. See if softening it helps just a little bit. Choker helps, but we want to make sure that we're not choking in on Matt so much that we're not losing much. And he is in the dark, and that's where a lot of this is going to be saved, because we had a really bad green screen key. And there's some noise over here, and that's bugging me. So what other tools do we have? We got soften. Oops, choking down on him is not making a difference. Contrast. Contrast seems to be helping. Let's see how that looks now. So that looks better. Now we do have a bunch of noise and stuff.
I'm glad there are some details about this you're able to grasp.
Yeah. Thank you. It's like my green screen subject is being sarcastic towards me.
I'm glad there are some details about this you're able to grasp.
Let's look at this at 100%. Now, why aren't I worried about this? We're going to talk about that in a minute.
I'm glad there are some details about this you're able to grasp.
There's still a lot of chatter around the edges there. Let's just look again.
I'm glad there are some details about this you're able to grasp.
Alright, so let's go back to fit. Let's go back to alpha. Spill suppressor, that's for later. Contrast worked well. What's the midpoint do for us? This may be the thing we need to get rid of some of the noise. Some of it.
I'm glad there are some details about this you're able to grasp.
It's kind of funny how when his face goes in, and this is a result of compression, looks like his face is kind of merging with the wall. And we still get a little bit of nasty noise here.
I'm glad there are some details about this you're able to grasp.
Oh, thank you. So let's see if softening it can help. And then we'll pull back the choke.
I'm glad there are some details about this you're able to grasp.
Me too. And for those of you just tuning in for the first time or watching this as the first tutorial from me, I am not a visual effects artist. I'm a director who does his own visual effects because that's what I do. So that's one. So let's go into export. And no, definitely not H.264. I'm going to do a QuickTime movie. Animation. Animation is a lossless codec. I'm going to bring this back to its original resolution, 1920 by 1080p. Want full quality. We want square pixels. And we want, why did that, oh, because it's locked. 1920. Okay. So we want to render maximum bit depth, maximum quality, and here's the important part, 8 BPC plus alpha. You want the alpha channel for this here. Alright, that way you have this gone. So let's render it out to the right place. Where do I want to render this? To see. I'll just make it to scene 11 for now. And I'm going to make a special folder. This is just my organization. Let's see. VFX scene 11. Okay, good. That's just how it plays it. So let's open this up as its own composition. Alright, fantastic. Looks good. I mean, it doesn't look good, but it will look good. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into this other folder with these shots of tunnels. And we're going to pick one out that looks moderately okay. I think I want a longer shot. That one's pretty cool. Don't want an even longer shot? Maybe I do. Maybe I do. I'm going to grab a couple of these and import them in, and we'll play with them and see what happens. Okay, so now first we have to size them up because they're just not the right size. So we're going to have to play with these a bit. Start with scaling it and positioning it. Okay, so I'm going to start messing around with this, getting this in the proper place. Now this looks a little too wide for our tunnel, so I'm going to squish it in to start. And you notice too the perspective isn't matching up, so we're going to have to deal with that as well. But you already see suddenly there's more tunnel in front of him. So let's go back to here. The next thing I want to do is I want to just get the part of the tunnel that I want. Let's get rid of that microphone. Get rid of all of this. And there we go. So but it cuts off part of his head right here. So let's just adjust that a little bit. There we go. So now we have this, and we also have a little bit of that chatter there. But we'll worry about that in a bit. Right now I just want to build this perspective shot. But what I should do is I should go back to Premiere and I should turn off Ultra Key and render out to the proper location this time, to D drive. Oh, that's day 11, not scene 11. Okay. Green screen clip 1. Call this one no VFX. But I'm going to make sure all the other settings are the same. We can uncheck that because we don't need the alpha. We don't need an alpha channel. Okay, everything looks to be in order. Let's export that one. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing part of the wall Okay, so we have no VFX here. Later on I'll organize this a bit better. So, what just happened to everything? Alright. I'm going to do the same thing over here. We're going to crop all this stuff out. But this time we're going to crop around him as well. We might need that extra bit of floor. We can always adjust that later. Okay, so now if we have a look, now we don't have the chatter. We have him keyed out. There might be a little bit of chatter around him, but all the chatter that we had in the ceiling here before suddenly is no longer an issue. So now we're starting to get the beginnings of the tunnel that he's walking down, this kind of far off tunnel. And we also have, I wanted this bit of ceiling as well because I wanted to be able to extend that tunnel, and you know, I can come in and do a little Photoshop work around here and blend this all together. But I just wanted the beginnings of that tunnel so that I could know where the perspective falls. You see, we got a few little issues here. We've got to tweak this kind of warped wall here, which may or may not be good, and we're going to add some texture to this. But as you can see, the top of his head, we no longer have to worry about this issue. Matter of fact, let's bring that back down. So now there's the rest of his head. There's a little bit of an issue there, so bring that back up slightly. So a little something happening here. That's due to the cropping, not the cropping, the choker, the matte choker here. So we'll see a little bit of that. So what we might want to do for that is be extra sensitive about that little bit of area. Okay, bring that down. And then we can go in and we can just soften, use this feather. There we go. We'll still see a little bit of it, but it won't be as noticeable now that we've feathered it. Of course, now we have this little issue here. So oh, I made a shape layer. Why am I always making shape layers? See how that works. Nope, that's not going to do the trick. I'll edit that part out. Okay, forget about the softness thing. Just gonna have to change that shape. We'll fix it, don't worry. Still gotta adjust that down a little bit. Make this invisible so I can see what's going on. And there you go, filmmakers. Part of the big challenge is just making everything fit together, because it really is trial and error. And if you have problems like this, finding that little space of compromise. So you lose that little sprig of hair. That's the thing that's really bothering me. But we'll see if we can roll with it for the moment. Gotta roll with that roll. Okay, so it's going down into this tunnel, and he also needs a wall on this side. So let's find that other piece of tunnel footage. That's the far one. And let's see what happens when we drop it down in front. Okay, first of all, I need to be able to see what I'm doing. So let's lower the opacity. Not too much. Alright, and let's scale this down. Change the position. And rotate it. So it lines up a little better. Reposition it. It's not going to be perfect. Alright, so oops. Subtract. Alright, so now he's got a wall, but the wall's in front of his arm. But now we've got a general idea of where it should be, so oops. Let's get him to fit. Alright, so now his arm's in front of it, but now we have this bit of floor. So let's go back to this bit of footage. crop in on that, see how it plays out. So now it's all adjustments. Note that the floor is not in proper perspective here. Alright, so now we're kind of lined up all along the edges here. Let's see if we can adjust that a little better. We'll clean everything up, don't worry. Bring that up there. Okay, so now he's walking in a tunnel. I see a little error there. Let's bring that over and hope that he doesn't cross it. Ah, there's the trouble. So we're gonna have to keyframe this. No problem. Mask path. And let's bring it to this point where it's let's bring that there. So probably should have put a curve on this mask. Never too late. But the longer you wait, the more of a pain it is. Not too bad. So there we have the beginnings of him walking down a tunnel. There's still some issues with that rotoscoping, and I'll fix those later on. But now we have the beginnings of something good. Still some things bothering me now, namely this tunnel goes too high. Gotta mess with this a bit. Still, it's supposed to be a very narrow tunnel. Oops. Keep tweaking the perspective. It's just a little bit out of whack. So let's see what happens when we turn it upside down. Getting there. Closer. Closer. Okay, now there's no floor. That's all right. We're getting there. This part here is a problem. But let's see what happens again. Let's duplicate this. Rotate it back. Oh. Let's go in here and crop out this stuff. And here's where we can get a little... We can start to cheat a bit. Okay, so that's that one. Let's go back to here. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Also not what I wanted to do. Okay, now we can fudge with this floor a bit. I always hate that. You start accidentally grabbing the wrong layer. Okay, so now we're getting into perspective. And let's crop this wall a little better. Can we... Oops. By the way, if you're not familiar with perspective, this is something that you really do need to learn. Alright, so we got a little issue here with the ceiling, and I have a fix for that as well. Oops. So now it looks like he's walking down a hodgepodge collage of wall pieces. So we're going to keep working on it. But it's there. We went from him walking down a tunnel to, or him walking in a garage with a green wall, to him walking down a sort of tunnel. So let's get that perspective right. Now it matches up with this one, but this one's a little bit different. Let's see about that. That line should continue out about that way. It's about right. But now we have this gap, and we have an uneven looking tunnel, which is fine. An uneven looking tunnel is fine for a horror movie that's expressionistic. What's this piece here? Uh-huh. All this keyframing, man. I tell ya. And look at this, something I didn't notice and something you have to keep an eye out for. He turns around and then bumps into that keyframe. He bumps into that crop again. So let's see where he does that. That's where he really bumps into it there. Okay, so let's watch it. Let's fit it to screen. Let's hit save, by the way. Oh my God, I've been working on this project the entire time, and I haven't saved it once. That could be really bad. Save often, kids. Okay, so let's play it through. Again, this is still a hodgepodge, and this stuff takes time, so you know we probably won't finish the whole thing today. Here we go. We've gone from this
I'm glad there are some details about this you're able to grasp.
To this. This isn't the precise scene that we want, obviously. There's a lot of work to be done in the cleanup still, but we've got a bunch of stuff going on here. We got a wall here, got a wall here. We're gonna have to start matching this stuff soon, and I'm gonna tell you about how to think about that. So let's get to this. Let's see. First of all, let's crop out this. And reverse that crop mask. Okay, so I want that tunnel to just keep going, and so we're going to go into our tunnel assets again, and we're going to find a photo of the tunnel just kind of continually going. Looks like I only have a couple, which is surprising to me. I thought I took more. So we're going to scale that way down. Start moving it around. Nope. Oops. Let's make sure we're in the right thing. How bright that is on that side, but we'll worry about that later. Maybe I'll try rotating this 180 degrees. Not that. Perspective still looks a little bit wrong. Alright. And this is just going to bug me how bright that is. And how blue it is. So I'm going to just go into color correction really quick. Give myself some peace of mind. First of all, let's go into color balance. And just take everything down. Levels. Let's take that down. All right. And let's desaturate it. I'm always desaturating things is like a last resort for me. I really hate using desaturation. So many people just fall back on it in color correction, and I really like color. Even if you're in the dark, I understand that when you're in dark tunnels like the Quantum Terror is, you want to desaturate to give a sense of it being dark, but you also, you know, you want color. You don't want to do that whole kind of trendy thing where everything was like a monotone color. Everything had a hue of green over it, or a hue of blue, and desaturated. And just, you know, it looked cool the first few times. Okay. And then instead of trying to color correct these individually, let's do an adjustment layer. Bring these down over these two back here. And same thing. I'm going to start with levels this time. Oops, not channel. Not go too crazy. And then he is the subject. Oof. We're going to have to copy and paste our well, I'll just show you what I'm doing. So I want to bring this down. And maybe I'm doing this out of order, but sometimes I see things and I'm just like, you know, it's time to mess with that. And then this wall. Okay, so I want this to match this. So this is far, you see on this side, this is much different, much cooler gray, and this is much warmer on this side. So let's go into color correction, color balance, and let's start pulling out, let's see, I would say that we'll start with the midtones and start pulling out the red. Instantly that makes a difference. Now we're getting a little too blue, so let's put a little red back in there. A little too green, let's pull the green out of it. And then a little too blue, so let's pull the blue out of it. Okay, so now we're going to go into highlights because we're still seeing these light areas here, and we're going to, I would say, start with pulling the green out and then pulling the red out again, because you see it's getting kind of purple. Alright, so there we go, and let's go back into here and pull this down a bit more. Now we're losing a lot of him. Now he's supposed to be in the dark, so it's not so bad, but I don't want to go too dark, so let's this versus this. So let's get rid of this. I'm going to copy and paste this over. And play around. This is none of this stuff is permanent. Got a lot of green up here, so I'm going to have to mess with that That's in the ceiling. And I would say that this is a shadow. So let's go into the green shadows. Pull that out. Ooh, goes purple right away. So let's pull the red out. Now it's too blue. Let's see, all these values that we pull out or push back in kind of add a lot more color here where there is none here. So this is one of those instances where I would go into desaturate, hue saturation, lighten that up a bit. Okay, and I'm going to tell you later on we're going to fix this in here. Oh, and you see here's a problem it creates when you do too much color correction there. So we're probably going to need to rotoscope around his head, which is a pain in the butt, but sometimes it's unavoidable. We'll get back to that later. So we still have all sorts of mismatched colors, that sort of thing. We will fix this. But for now, I have a bunch of chores that I have to do in preparation for a visit. So I gotta clean this place up, do some dishes, vacuum, take out the trash. So I've got to wrap it up for now, but I will be back soon for part 2. It's going to be two-parter where we're gonna finish this up. We're gonna make it look like he's actually walking down a dark tunnel, but you know, it's a start. I think it looks pretty good. I always get excited with these you know, when even in these preliminary things where it looks really goofy and cheesy, you know, and you can see all the mistakes. You know, you got to clean up your rotoscope, and you got to rotoscope some other things, add textures, you know, fix things like this. But now he's walking down a tunnel, you know, he's starting to, and you know, we will make this more convincing as we go along. And also I'll have time to think about how to make this better. You know, when you're doing a live demonstration, you're seeing problems come up, you know, you got to walk away when you're doing your own effects and you know, think about them, come back to them, you know, whatever, eat lunch, take a shower, take a walk, do some cleaning, let your brain kind of work on these issues, and then you come back to them and you make them better. So I hope this was helpful, and please click the donate button down there. You can also subscribe to me on Patreon. If you're on Twitch, the Patreon link isn't there. I'll figure that out soon. I want to make like a Patreon button, but if you're watching this on YouTube, just there's a Patreon button down there. You subscribe to me. I'm going to be doing some podcasts about filmmaking, about special effects, that sort of thing. So again, hope you found this useful, and I will be back soon with more.